Welcome to the Lucentlands Podcast. We have identified the need for a platform where industry leaders and innovators in the agricultural sector can share their stories and inspire others. We hope you enjoy listening to this as much as we enjoyed speaking to these people. Welcome.
Roelof, tell us a little bit. We really don't know much about kiwi fruit.
I think just introduce yourself.
Yeah, please introduce yourself,
who you do. And
Okay. Unfortunately, we're not sitting in my orchard. I wish it was my orchard. But I work for a new company called the Kiwi Connection, and I'm technical manager there. The company was formed or created by Freshworld or the RSA group, that's a 50% shareholder, and Topfruit, that's the other 50% shareholder. Topfruit would bring the IP of the varieties to the company, and Freshworld, the RSA group, the marketing and the markets of different clients. And the company was structured or created to fully focus on kiwi fruit. So Flippy Viljoen is the managing director, and then I'm the technical manager, and we might be appointing more people. Currently we're using people from Freshworld and a little bit of Topfruit's offices just to keep the costs low. So the company was created to focus fully on kiwi fruit, a little bit motivation from Zespri's model in New Zealand. But we soon realized that kiwi fruit is a very, let's not say a niche market, but it's a niche crop. It needs, from planting to marketing, it needs 100% focus. It can't be one of 10 fruit that you do. It's a dedicated crop that we want to focus on. And then I've been working for the company is new, but in kiwi fruit for about 6 years now. I'm 28, I think, 28 or 27. And then, and I grew up in this area. We're sitting in Brerevier, Rossel in the Western Cape, and farming's been in my blood from day one. I studied agriculture, and then we have a farm in the Slanghoek Valley close by. My grandfather has a farm in Bonnievale. We farm with peaches, we farm with wine grapes. I have some cattle. So farming's in my gut, and kiwi fruit came over my path, and it's been 6 years, and it's been challenging, and there's been ups and downs, but we're heading in the right directions, and we're getting the answers that we like. So that's how I fit in.
That's
so,
fantastic.
but how did kiwi?
So kiwi, I actually applied after university. I went to work for my grandfather in Bonnievale on the wine grape farm, and I wanted to do something else, just straight going to the farm. So I applied for a table grape job at Topfruit. I didn't get the table grape job. I was too young or whatever. And then Rob Mays and the managing director of Topfruit said, but wait, he wants me to work there. He'll work something out. And then we started talking, and he said, but we have kiwi fruit and no one's really running it. Would I be interested? And that's how kiwi started. We started off with the IP side. The industry just started then. We had Skelton varieties planted, Skelton varieties was planted in Natal. And so that's where I started. We started with trial blocks. We imported varieties through the Topfruit contacts. And yes, the whole ball just escalated, and now we're exporting fruit with the help of Freshworld and doing the varieties on Topfruit. So that's how I got into it. Sometimes it's almost too good to be true. It's like it was picked out for me. I do feel I clicked the plants really well, so I do understand the business. So that's how I got involved. So still early days, but yeah.
But that's hugely exciting, because kiwi fruit is I know that's been farmed in South Africa for a very long time, but it has always been quite a small industry and quite a niche industry. But it seems that the kiwi fruit industry is growing quite rapidly at the moment.
It is. So way back, I think in the 1980s or 1990s, they focused on the green kiwi fruit that was sent from, I think the original plant material came from New Zealand to South Africa. Especially on the green kiwi fruit, it's harder to grow, but it's not really harder to grow. It has basic genetics that makes it harder to grow everywhere. So it has a very high winter chill requirement, so it can't be planted everywhere. It yields genetically low, and it's just not big fruit. So the new big thing is red and golden kiwi fruit, and our friends in New Zealand, Zespri, has spent billions of dollars on marketing this yellow kiwi fruit, and it became a higher value crop in the markets, which resulted into higher returns on the farm. As you can see, the plants are a little bit more reproductive, so the whole model fits in quite nicely. So yeah, the eating market or selling fruit market is there, but the growing market in South Africa is growing very rapidly, or it grew very rapidly before COVID it does, but it's picking up, and yeah, it's a big talking point. Yeah.
But if you look at this, is the golden varieties less chill dependent than the green ones?
It's a broad statement to say something like that, but generally, if you want to talk ballpark figure, or yeah, the gold and the red varieties have a less winter chill requirement than the traditional green stuff. There is new green varieties coming through that I suspect has even lower chill or the same amount of winter chill requirements than the yellow varieties, but that's all new genetic stuff. But yeah, it's the correct term to say that in a ballpark.
But if kiwis need such a high chill factor for the winter, why is it classified? Why do people think it's a subtropical fruit?
Yeah, if you look I don't know why it's classified as a subtropical fruit. If you go into we have a breeding program in China that supplies with continuous flow of varieties. So the general varieties comes out of China, but China can probably see that China's big, so you can have subtropical places maybe where they've been growing some of it in the gardens or stuff. But if you go into where they started or pick varieties, still it's in the mountains, in the woods and everything. So that's definitely not subtropical. It's very cold, it's very misty. All the plants there some of the plants lose their leaves. There's not all evergreen trees, so definitely not. I don't think it's fully subtropical, but yeah, if that.
So with people growing it in Natal and in Mpumalanga, here we are, where we are, is actually the place we should grow it.
It's hot. Yeah. You need to understand that we were taught, and we struggle with that still. We were taught that if you look at literature, that KZN is the right climate because you have the high humidity, you have the high humidity, the low summer temperatures, and some areas with a cold winter. But the more we work with the plants, the more the varieties come through. We learn different stuff, and we actually get better quality fruit in the, let's call it, drier areas. But it's stuff that we keep on learning. So I just think that kiwi fruit in the whole world terms, the limits wasn't pushed hard enough in the right ways to really define what the plant needs, and we're still learning that as we speak. So
I believe it's one of the newest fruits discovered in like the last
probably it should
like apples and pears and those kind of things are old, and grapes are old.
If you type in, if you want to learn more about kiwi fruit, you get nothing on the internet. If you want to learn something about apples or pears or even nectarines, you get a whole lot of information. So yes, it is very new, especially the golden varieties. I would say the age of golden varieties is probably less than 20 years,
Sure.
25 years. That's I'm guessing, but it's young. Yeah, it's not apples that's over 100 years or stuff like that.
So it's also it's interesting to know that you are working with Freshworld and for the export market. Freshworld is a very experienced company, and I actually happen to know Flippy Viljoen as well. Okay. And so I know that they have been pushing this, and they've been exporting from other parts of the country. And it's interesting to hear that it's growing, and that South African fruit production is largely export driven. So where are your markets, and do we have a niche as far as market access timing?
So the problem for all new startup fruits, thinking back of the pears and nectarines, is market access to the right market. So currently we're just relying on the basic markets that we have a open door to, like Europe, UK, Far and Middle East. So that's the primary markets. We ship a little bit of stuff to Canada. But if you want to really grow the industry from South Africa and get serious and make this a R1 billion industry in South Africa, we need market access to higher volume and higher paying markets, like the one that we're primarily targeting is the US, and then hopefully Japan and China. Obviously in today's situation, it's not that easy getting market access or that quick. So we hope that we can get the first one would be the US, and that would mean a lot for the industry. There's already market windows in Europe and the UK and far and Middle East, but if we want to build this massive industry and compare it to nectarines or plums in South Africa, we need more market access. We are working on it, but it's a long.
What is the scope for kiwis?
There's a lot of people involved, different investors, if you can call it like that. So everyone has their own scope, but we estimate, I think we can plan. It's more a gut feeling. We try to put in the numbers. It's really hard, but our company, the Kiwi Connection, we want to aim to represent 1,000 hectares of fruit. I know there's other companies that also targets 1,000 hectares. So we think about 1,500 to 2,000 hectares would be, then we would fill the market gap, maybe what we have now, and then we need to start pushing into new markets. So currently there's probably only not even 500 hectares planted in South Africa.
In total?
In total. So we still have time. If we start enough, in 10 years time, we maybe reach the 1,500, 2,000 hectare cap, and hopefully by then we have new markets open.
Okay, so you guys are at the moment already working with Dalrad and them to open up.
Yeah, so we started
US
just now. The first step is to do a pest risk assessment, and then the next phase would be working with Dalrad to get market access. So we're primarily focusing on the US for now.
Are they growing kiwis in the US?
It's also much like South Africa, very new. They grow some in California, obviously against the grain, but against the grain of what a kiwi fruit needs. So they try to manipulate it with misting systems because of the hot summers. But it's also a startup industry, but they have a huge local market. So I don't even think they're exporting the fruit that they produce. So we expect it to grow.
When I was in a kiwi block in the beginning of the year in George at Wilderness Fruit.
Yes.
And because of the chill factor, they had to spray the vines in the winter. What do you call it, a vine or a tree?
A vine. Usually in New Zealand they talk about vines.
But they've got to irrigate it in the winter to cool it down.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking, flipping hell, if you need to do that, spray water just to get it cold. This is where it must grow because it's cold here.
Yeah, it is. Or CRS, but now you have the negative part of, again, what literature teaches, that it gets from January on, it gets really dry and the humidity drops, and that's not what
a kiwi place like the X River?
Also very warm, very dry, January, February. But again, new varieties, we're pushing the boundaries more and more, so anything could happen. We're having lower chill varieties that's flowering in White River and Mpumalanga. So
that's flowering now.
Now that flower this season, and the chill is there's not a sufficient chill if you look according to literature. So that's one way you can manipulate the plant, is just to irrigate. And the basic you just want to do is just knock off the high temperatures in the winter. So you want to knock off the 20 degrees to 18s or 15s, and that's all that you can really control. But the future lies in breeding or selecting varieties that does not need that.
Yes.
So it's really nice to be sitting with you underneath the kiwi vine, so that we can actually see how it grows and what it looks like. And I'm looking at this, and it makes me think of there's several questions I want to ask. One is talk labor. This must be a very labor intensive industry.
Very, very labor intensive industry. So we try to compare it with plums and nectarines. But the more we work with it, it's a little bit, I do feel it's a little bit even on top of that. So, and it's, in general terms, with stuff that we work on, peaches or nectarines, don't understand me wrong, but it's smarter labor. So you need to make smarter decisions in the terms of working with the plant. So probably a good comparison is table grapes. I think they're also very intensive. So maybe not that intensive or that slow labor rate as table grapes, where you need to cut out bunches, but the same mindset of does you need to do here, does you need to do there. So very labor intensive.
And another question about the actual fruit. Does this fruit ripen at all after you pick it, or does you have to pick it at optimal ripeness?
No, it would. So we usually, if you want a nice fruit for the kitchen, you pick the fruit around 8 to 9 to 10 bricks. Then it will ripen in your kitchen.
So it does still ripen on the way after picking.
Yes.
So
What is the ideal eating bricks?
It depends on variety. So this variety here is called Dory. It's a golden variety from Europe.
Top fruit.
Top Fruit owns the variety. They brought it to Kiwi Connection. Last year's results show if we can harvest this variety around 8.5 bricks, we can reach eating bricks of 19 and over.
Sure.
Oh wow! So it can ripen that much.
Yeah.
What is the time span from 9 bricks to 19 bricks?
No, so it depends on how so supermarkets would trigger fruit with ethylene that I pump in, and that triggering would probably be within a week. At your at home, if you keep it in the fridge, it can probably last 3 weeks. So you kind of want to trigger it with a ethylene or a temperature
apples
spike.
or bananas. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Then it will go quickly. Depending on the ripeness of the variety, but let's say you can trigger it from picking ready to eating ready within a week with an apple and a banana.
And the place in George where we were, they said that they can store their stuff in controlled atmosphere.
Yeah. So
I think he said for 9 months.
Yeah. So kiwi fruit is selected. Any variety is selected to be able to store with a minimum of 3 months. So yeah, it's not wrong to say that we're doing tests with Experico on controlled atmosphere. We're not getting that good results. It seems like the controlled atmosphere is lowering the eating bricks at the end, but not much. But generally, if it can store for a long time. 9 months is a lot. I would say 6 months is already a good variety.
I can't remember the exact.
But usually a good variety can store between 4 and 6 months. On the 6 month end, you're starting to get a little bit poor fruit and you need to resort. But it's a variety.
But put it this way, if we've got a shipping problem or something like that,
it helps. Yeah.
It could help that you can.
Yeah. So, but you need the right varieties. Not all varieties store that, and especially on the golden varieties, that's such new varieties coming in. It's a big test. It needs to store for at least 3 months. Otherwise, we won't commercialize it from Top Fruit side. Yeah.
So, just as a consumer's perspective on kiwi fruit, looking back to the times of the green kiwi, it's a very beautiful fruit, but it's not like my first choice as an eating fruit. Do the newer varieties, the bricks is higher than the traditional green kiwi fruit?
Yeah, so obviously it is a nice looking fruit, but I'm also not one for the sourish taste that it has. So I think green kiwi fruit can run between 11 to 14 bricks if you're lucky. So no, for sure the red and the yellow varieties, it's much more sweeter. Some of the varieties has a much more tropical taste to it. So some clients would actually, or some blind tastings, some people would actually say, no, it's too sweet for them.
Oh, well,
so it's on a next, on a different level. I'll send you some fruit when we start picking, and then we can maybe take some photos.
So this is really incoming trend of a new generation of kiwi fruit, which is going to, I mean, if you look at, you were talking about climate and new varieties and things, what that's done for the blueberry industry. I mean, 30 years ago, blueberries were something you bought frozen, and we only knew people in North America grew them in the cold, high-lying areas. And now they're growing blueberries all around the world. It sounds to me like there's quite a new development and a new trend coming with kiwi fruit.
I think the consumer needs to be educated more, because like you said, I'm not a big kiwi fan because of exactly what we've spoken about.
Yeah. No, for sure, you're 100% right. It's definitely a trend on, let's say, on the farming or agricultural side. We like to compare the models or the situation where blueberries was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But working more with the plants and having some blueberry knowledge, it's definitely, I don't think it's going to run the same direction blueberries went. Firstly, it's too labor intensive to just plant. I worked on one of the biggest farms in New Zealand, and it was 15 hectares. So if you want to really do it good and you want to reach your 50 tons per hectare, a 20 hectare kiwi fruit farm in South Africa is big. So I don't think it's going to happen like in South where it happens with the blueberries, where it gets planted really a lot, just because it's labor intensive and it's really, really hard to grow. It's not just something that you plant, you give it fertilizer, it grows and you harvest it. It challenges you as a horticulturist, as a farmer, as everything in every way, from bud break that because of its winter chill requirement to post-harvest, to what variety to plant, what the market wants. So I don't think it will fully, it's definitely a new thing and people will plant and we hope people will plant, but it won't be masses of hectares. That's what I predict. I wouldn't recommend people planting too big. And then it's very expensive to plant. We're probably running now at 850k a hectare just to plant 1 hectare of kiwi fruit. So the poles...
Inset cost.
Establishment.
Capital,
establishment cost. Yeah.
Establishment.
Yeah. So the nets are high.
And then to farm it, what's the running cost of this?
It's hard because we don't have full 40 tons per hectare box in production yet, but we're aiming for around, it should be around apple figures, so 200 to 220 per hectare. You need to remember that we're buying pollen from the US that we're importing, so all of the fruit here has been hand pollinated.
Wow.
Yeah. So pollination is a big topic. It's and if you look at when I worked in New Zealand or you go to Italy, it's not out of the norm there. They have pollen mills that they harvest the male plants, mill the pollen and then blow it up into the female canopy. So it's not, we just need to adapt to that. Currently we're importing the pollen. It's very expensive, which pushes up the farming cost. So if we can create our own pollen, that would make a massive difference. Or every grower creating.
That's a whole different situation.
That's a whole bunch of other questions. So why is it like that? Why do you get male plants, female plants?
Yeah, so you get male plants, female plants.
So the stuff you will see in this block is female plants.
Yeah, we have some male plants there. You see, there's one tucked in between the female plant and the post that's twirling around here, just here. Where's it? And here's another one just behind me.
The ones with the double.
No, not double. The one closest to the post.
I see.
Okay, and then his cordons runs in a different direction. So with the male plants, the kiwi fruit needs a male pollen to be pollinated.
Obviously,
the male plants doesn't bear fruit. The idea is bees help, but kiwi fruit does not have the pollen. It has a lot of pollen, but not any nectar. So the bees don't like the pollen, the flowers that much. So artificial pollination came from, it creates bigger fruit size, more fruit set, because the bees doesn't like it.
Have you done tests with bees here yet?
No, we had a poor experience this year with bees here. We didn't know if it was the hives or the nets. Some places in KZN have good results with bees, but generally bees doesn't like kiwi fruit flowers, so we're going to play a little bit around more. But me as a grower and Hanu, whose farm this is as a grower, we're planting our own male blocks to harvest pollen and blow into the canopy. So that's another thing about why I don't think kiwi fruit will run the blueberry direction.
It's a complicated story.
It's you need to be good. You need to be good just to grow the stuff, and you need to be really good to get this fruit on class 1 spec. And if you do that, there's money to be made. Yeah.
If you want to have your own male blocks, you're going to need space. Inset cost on something that's not going to make a return for you unless you can sell the pollen.
You can sell the pollen. You probably can sell the pollen, especially.
But at this stage, it's not big enough to make that as an income.
I think it is. Hopefully we can export, because to make it more complicated, there's a bacteria disease that other countries have. It's called PSA. It's a Xanthomonas actinidia. Actinidia is the genesis of kiwi fruit, so strain. So South Africa and the US, I think, is only 2 countries that does not have that strain or the bacteria. So if you can produce pollen without that bacteria, then you have a good market, because the bacteria gets spread or the infection gets worse with pollen. So you might plant it in South Africa and you can maybe export it, but again, that's a whole new concept. And currently there is some people planting pollen, and we're going to plant pollen just for the South African hectares that's planted. Or if someone wants to go big in kiwi fruit like Hanu is doing, he needs to invest in getting his own pollen also. Otherwise, I can't see you reaching 40-50 tons a hectare. 40 tons a hectare. Yeah.
That's incredibly challenging with the pollen thing. I mean, wow. This is like something else. Okay, so, but the fact that South Africa is disease-free of this bacteria is good news.
Very good news, yeah.
And what's being done to make sure that you stay disease-free?
So, unfortunately, not unfortunately. It's a one channel thing. So but it's been good, and they do a really good job. It's very frustrating because maybe I should explain this how it works. So you would, let's say, Top Fruit signs up a new variety in Italy or in wherever, and that plant material gets sent to South African quarantine. It can be sent in two phases, either hardwood or in tissue culture. Tissue culture is sometimes preferred because it's usually sterilized and clean, so nothing lives in there. If they send hardwood, it goes to quarantine, and they physically grow out the plants for a year or to 18 months, and they test the plants if it's bacteria free or they don't find it. So there is a good process coming through from government that anything needs to be tested before it's released. So I haven't heard. Usually we try to take caution at the other end that they harvest the material from places that's clean, so it doesn't even come into our quarantine. So quarantine is then the next stop where now they test everything and only release everything that's clean. So, but we always have the risk of people flying in budwood illegally, or shoes that's not been sanitized, or pruning shears, and that can, yeah. But we are investing in the future. So in Top Fruit's model, we are having a plan B. So we have varieties in place that is this disease tolerant, which not all the varieties can say, but we are preparing for the worst in the future. So,
but does that open up another market where South Africa is a good place for breeders?
No, I think breeding kiwi fruit now, it's too expensive. So at this stage, worldwide, if you want to breed, you want to actually breed where the disease are, because if you can find a variety that's the disease tolerant, that the market is there. So breeding, I would say no. If you think South Africa is more better in terms of breeding, I think it has a harsher climate than where generally kiwi fruit gets grown. So if you breed something here that stands out, that has big fruit size, good eating quality, then it could be a good worldwide variety. So that's what I think. Yeah.
Okay. Very, very interesting. So it seems to me like that the industry is growing in South Africa, because I also know that there's recently been a Kiwi Fruit Producers Association established.
Yes. I'm fortunate enough to be a board member of the Growers Association. So I represent because I farm also and then work for the Kiwi Connection, I represent the Western Cape. So the association I think is now 3 years old. Jonathan Trussler is the president or
CEO?
No, not CEO.
Chairman.
Yes. Yeah. He's doing a great job, and basically it still feels like a small family with all the growers and the board members, and we try to everyone running for the same goal. So the association is there and it's growing, and we try our best. Obviously funds and times are limited, but Jonathan is going to be working with me and Flippy to drive the market access to the US. So there is something going on. Funds are just limited, and but it's there and it's going on now.
Okay, but at the moment, if somebody wants to go into kiwis in South Africa, do you say to them, keep your other crops and do this, start small with this? Or do you say go balls to the wall? And
I think obviously, yes, in agriculture today, seeing all the, I think it's dangerous working with investment money. If I can have my personal opinion to maybe growers listening to that, to do this, it's dangerous working with investment money. There's not a lot of success stories around with investment money. I don't know why, and we need to dig in why. So, but I also feel there's opportunity for investors, but I wouldn't bring a investor to my personal farm and do something with them. I think you can start small while having table grapes or nectarines or whatever, and plant your 2 or 5 hectares. And even if you need to take the money or lend the money from the bank, and you can make your money. Why bring an investor on board? Plant 20 hectares. That's going to take over the show, and you need to split the But then again, I think there's opportunity for investors to say, here's the money, put something together, and this is a 50-hectare kiwi fruit farm, or with 4 managers. We need something like that, but we need more money. We need pack houses, we need dedicated packing lines, cold stores. So it's still a whole industry that needs to be built, and investment money is very good for that.
So okay, I want to make a statement here, and I don't know if I'm wrong. Please help me if I'm please correct me if I'm wrong. If, let's say, a farmer in the X River wants to convert his table grapes, or half of his crop, because obviously table grapes at the current moment is suckling a little bit, struggling with a lot of stuff. Would you advise them to put in kiwis?
We try to. We don't advise anyone to put in kiwi fruit. We invest in trial blocks and invest in R&D work so that we can show the results we currently have. And in the end, it's only the grower's own decision if he wants to plant. I don't like forcing or advising or telling someone this is the next big thing. We promise you this much money per hectare. So we show them the results. We state the facts. This is how the process works, and they can decide. So someone in the X River, they can phone us. They can phone the other IP companies, and they for sure they can plant. What I'm scared about in the X, it's going to be this harvest at the same time as packing season.
But what I'm looking at is if you look at this, your general establishment investment could be less because you can use the same infrastructure.
Yeah, you can.
Very close.
You
like your poles and your trellises.
Yeah, very close. Yeah, especially if you have a one that's already on the net. Well, we recommend kiwi fruit to be grown on the nets because it is quite sensitive to the direct sunlight when it gets January, February.
The fruit itself.
Yeah, the fruit and the leaves. You'll see in January the leaf looks like a little bit of a burn. Again, we have new varieties that does not show that, but we recommend growing it on the nets, and it's very, 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 I can't state this enough to all of the growers, very wind sensitive. If you think something's wind sensitive, multiply it by 10, then you get kiwi fruit. So you'll see all of this is double shaded net with a windbreak on the other side. So this is probably 80% shade net alone on the sides with a pre-food hedge around the outside. Yeah, it's very sensitive. Yeah.
What happens? Is it?
So obviously you can see all this long cane, so it gets lumpy. So it blows just off the starting point is strong enough to carry all the weight when it starts blowing. And then fruits, in kiwi fruit we have a very sensitive stage from 21 days to around, what do you call it now? Let's say 50, 60 days after fruit set. That's a very sensitive stage. So even if you touch with your nail against the fruit, it will leave a mark that can cause class 2 packouts later on. So any wind rub during that stage causes less packouts. Sure. Probably like in every fruit, but yeah, it's just overly complicated or more sensitive than other fruits.
Okay, so your company, the Kiwi Connection.
Yeah.
They must have a marketing plan on the table. Where are your main markets? Where are you trying to get your stuff to, and when?
Okay, so currently the model or the opportunity lies getting in the market before Zespri does. So South Africa
ahead of the New Zealand production.
Ahead of the New Zealand production. Long term, I personally don't think it will last. The market gap will close up either from. There's friends of mine planting in Greece or in late areas in Italy, and they find varieties that they can store longer that will fill this early market gap. The early market gap is around from, not that we produce in that windows, but let's say from January to April, May. April is a big market gap for the yellow kiwi fruit. So they might store it in Europe to fill this market gap. New Zealand is pushing to harvest earlier, but they can't.
When do we harvest here?
So this block gets harvested the first week of March. We have areas that harvest middle February. So that's the ideal from middle Feb to middle March. That's the golden window that you want to pick. Then you hit the market empty. Long term, we're setting up clients. You're asking about clients and markets. Long term, we're setting up markets or clients that can take product into the later window that Zespri is already supplying in. So we are focusing on Europe a lot, obviously, but the market window is in Europe now. We are focusing far and Middle East. So that's the primary stuff. The UK takes fruit, but it's low volumes. But I think the big shift in fruit would go into Europe, and we have this variety is also grown in Europe, so we're trying to work with the partners there to get some kind of counter season supply. But Zespri from New Zealand is a big dog in the industry. They're on the next level, and so I expect them that they're not going to be happy losing some clients to South African growers. So they're probably going to push the buyers to say, listen, you can't always just buy South African fruit. So it's a hard thing to see the future for.
But it's an older fruit like that.
But the plan is we have a marketing window now. We want to supply the clients with good quality fruit that they're happy to take later fruit also as we start planting in Elgin, Grabouw, Langkloof area to take that fruit also. But from what we see, especially this variety produces really good quality fruit, so they can be assured we'll keep the quality good here. They just need to buy the fruit.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Personal question. You spoke about being in New Zealand. So what was it like for a young man from Breerivier to go and spend time in New Zealand?
Yeah.
What was it like socially, culturally, and also for work?
Yeah. Because I farm, we farm also. Yes, you can get negative very quickly in South Africa. It's super challenging, super challenging, and I do have all the respect for the farmers these days. My dad's age 50 to 40 to 60, and then new guys that actually wants to get involved in agriculture. So why I make that statement, I would walk into the house and tell my mom, "No, I'm immigrating. I can't do this anymore." And every time I travel and I get there and I'm like, "No, yes, it's not worth it. There's no way. I'd rather live from the land in South Africa and have my own little garden or livestock than go into that corporate setup." So and then again it goes around your mindset. So when I was in New Zealand, it's great that everything works and the government supports you, but the culture is definitely not the same than in South Africa. I'm in a culture in this area where we braai or have a barbecue sometimes 3 times a week, and we talk about farming. Yes, we complain a lot, but it's all farming. It's all farming. There, we had to go to a pub, and there's not no one your age that's interested in farming. It's just on a So for my experience, it's a nice place to be, but to
Nothing like home.
Yeah, some people say, no, you're young, you need to immigrate now. And the more I think about it, I feel like, now I'm young, I think there's enough opportunities in South Africa, you just need to make the plans to make it work. And again, everyone can be negative, but I try and talk to big farmers as much as possible, Francois Foster from Mahela, people like that, to try and inspire me, and they're sticking around. So I'm looking for reasons to be inspired. Government's not always doing their best, but there's good stuff in the media, if you really go look about it, that can positively influence your decisions. So for me, in the long and short, I think if you're smart enough and if you're clued up, there's more opportunity for you to be a above average person with an above average lifestyle in South Africa than moving to New Zealand.
But you must have the will to do it.
Exactly.
If you just want to sit around, or not sit around, you want to have a job to earn a salary, to go on holiday in December, you're gonna suckle. It's gonna be. Then you want to immigrate because it's not gonna be fun. But if you really want to make hard work, if you're prepared to work hard, you'll do well.
But for sure the culture also, it's unbelievable, my friends, and how we communicate and joke about farming, and it's genuinely a lifestyle. And I haven't seen it in Italy. I haven't seen it in China. I haven't seen it in Spain. I haven't seen it in New Zealand. So
that's a question I've got now. Is you said that the young people are not interested in farming there.
Yeah.
What do they do to get new blood into the industry?
No, it's a big problem. If you're a farm manager down now in New Zealand or even Australia, you get crazy amount of offers of money just to move to the next farm or move to a bigger farm because they don't have new people. Interesting enough, yes, young farmers is the one problem, but places now in New Zealand's new problem is labor. They can't get the fruit off the vines quick enough, and now they're far from the market also. So I don't know what they're doing. To me, it feels like the more that they spend more money investing in stuff to replace labor or replace farm managers like robots and stuff like that, then they spend money on motivating young farmers to actually do. And I think the young people has a misunderstanding of farmer. They think this guy with the khaki shorts.
It's his old woman in a karoo with his old bucky and the sheepdog on the back. And
exactly, and that's if you dive into my farm's books or how we're farming in the future, it's better run than any other business you'll probably get to do with in town. It's on a different level. You work with you work with such different types of challenges, from workforce to Yes, cash flow. Okay, farming will probably teach you the most you'll ever learn about cash flow than any company can. So, again, if you want to be positive, there's stuff that you can learn in farming, or let's call it agriculture, because I don't like the word farming. It creates this old man. The top farmers, Anton, for you and them, if you go and look at the farmers, it's almost a computer system that's running, and you have these people doing exceptionally good work. So if you really dive into the good farms, it's not farming anymore, it's a business.
Who's your idol?
Your
personal idol, not about the Kiwis. I'm talking about your personal one.
It's hard. You get asked that questions a lot in interviews, or maybe someone that wants advice, and I think my idol is me in 10 years, and then my idol again in 10 years is me in 10 years, and that's a mindset that keeps me going forward, and probably that keeps me positive in a challenging crop like South Africa and in a challenging environment for agriculture in South Africa. So you keep on thinking in 10 years. You need to keep thinking in 5 years and 10 years. So I would always argue with people, it looks good now. To give you an example, this is an amazing crop hanging here. Where is it going to be packed? What's going to happen if we reach 1,500 hectares in South Africa? What if this doesn't happen? So I think to be driven, because you only pick an idol to be driven to that certain point. And I don't want to reach a cap, especially in kiwi fruit, there's no cap. So my idol is me in 10 years, but to keep on thinking in 10 years. Obviously, I have a lot of role models that I wouldn't be who I am not following them, and Rob Mason is probably the first guy that saw the opportunity, and I learned a lot about. And then another one, Nigel Cook, who's a horticulturist, and he gave class on Stellenbosch, and he was one of my big mentors in teaching me the basics or the redefining plant physiology. And with this challenging crop, I had to help. So Nigel has been a big influence. Rob Mason, the MD of Topfruit, has been a big influence. And then I have one big mentor that worked for Zespri in New Zealand. He's currently in Europe. He just sold his house. He's moving to Greece now, and he's buying a boat. But his name's Caleb Kay. So he's also a big mentor of mine, and he taught me everything of kiwi fruit. So I hope it answers your question, but it's a long answer for a simple question. So but that's about it. And I do talk a lot, or try to talk a lot, to big farmers when I get the opportunity, like Hannes Joubert, Francois Foster, Ben Foster from Laarveld Citrus, the Retief family from Van Loferen. I got to know them. So I try to pick everyone's brain and put it in my situation, or maybe you learn something, maybe you don't learn something, but so I would say everyone, I try to pick the big role players in agriculture, and I try to learn from them and apply
ask questions
a lot. Too much. Sometimes I feel bad.
No, I never feel bad about asking questions, because there's no other way. Nobody's going to just tell you this stuff because they think you're a nice guy and you should know this. If you don't ask the question,
if you don't ask, you won't find out.
I remember one day I saw Hannes Joubert here, and Abata, and I leaned around over his bakkie, and we were talking about citrus and kiwi fruit and table guys. He just bought his farm in Robertson, and I told him, or obviously I said in Afrikaans, I said, Hannes, I want to be a mega farmer like you. And he said, well, he didn't say my son, but he said, I would highly not recommend it. So and working more with farmers and the challenge, I can see why he says it, but we all say that, and in the end we just buy another farm to go bigger. So because it's a lifestyle, it's not always about the money. So
yeah.
Amazing.
It's wonderful to hear about somebody young who's so inspired about agriculture in our country, because as you said, agriculture is not considered to be sexy. Young people don't want to go there. They don't want to get dirty. They don't want to have to wear shorts.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, the wine industry, people think that's very exciting. But normal production like this, it's incredible. And I wish a lot more young people would have the same enthusiasm that you have.
What can we do with it to get more young people? What do you think?
I think I would like the people, and I'm making a bold statement now, but I would like the people making money out of agriculture, chemicals, stuff like that, fertilizer companies, they're grabbing up all the young people, and they may be teaching them the wrong mindset of how a farm operates, and I do see that a lot, and I almost fell into that trap also. So when you get swept up by this company, it's big salaries, and you
Which is a big draw card.
yeah, it's a big draw card, and which is probably not wrong. The system is the system, but you get put in a mindset of this is how things needs to be work on a farm, and if you don't do that, then you're not a good farmer. And there's so much challenging stuff on a farm that influences a grower's habits or perspective, or just having the culture or money to do something in that way. So yeah, I would like big role players that makes some good money out of agriculture to reinvest in the basics of farming, and maybe take away that mindset of only this product or only that product. There's a whole mindset to farming more than just applying a certain product that so
Because if you speak to any youngster in school now, and I've had quite a lot of dealings with him, if you talk farming, it's either the woman in the Karoo on his sheep farm, or they're thinking wheat farming, big harvesters and tractors, and that is it, or maybe livestock.
No, it's definitely much more intense. Someday we're gonna try and put livestock in this kiwi fruit to go a little bit of a regenerative farming method. So for now, we just want to get the crop done, and then some of my other growers, my personal farm, I have a microjet here. It has 2 different lines here. So I have a microjet, and the really idea is to go full regenerative. So
what do you want to do with that? Because that's a big thing at the moment.
Regenerative, I think
in a commercial fruit block, because I think with this whole sustainability movement the world has got, I think a lot of people would be interested in.
Yeah, it's I have one of my best friends that has opstal, Zach Low. He started this regenerative approach on a certain block, a wine grape block in opstal, and they're going to incorporate it into the wine sales. Obviously, you create a healthier environment from orchard to the bottle,
and it becomes a marketing tool.
So
also.
I listening to John Kempf, as I told you previously on podcasts, and understanding the whole value and everything, and I agree with the soil health that gets better and less spraying herbicides, and it's just better for the end consumer. But I don't think it's possible in the commercial farms that we do. So and I want someone to prove me wrong. Zach's trying, but it is challenging. We have. It's incredible the challenges we have. He had some problems with dogs that got into his sheep. And so if you're farming 100 hectares of table grapes or peaches or nectarines, I just don't think it's possible. But my perspective is if you have a maybe high intensive crop like kiwi fruit or whatever, and it allows you to go a little bit regenerative, then I would like to do that in terms of to maybe save some cost in herbicides and stuff like that. And I don't know, it feels right. I think you're going to improve the soil, and it's just the whole nature environment that you're creating. And to be honest, it's a nice selling tool to have. At least I would be more bullish than about my product and tell you, listen, this product has maybe one fungicide spray. That's all it's been sprayed on. It's got fertilizer from the cows or stuff that walk there. There's no herbicides being sprayed. You're eating a nutrient-rich food that could solve health problems. Stop not paying me so much, or so that's the idea. At this stage, I just like the whole concept about it, and we're exploring it. But I don't think it's commercially sustainable.
Didn't go to this weekend. There was a talk with Joel Salatin was there.
I was invited. Peter Nicholson invited me. I was going to go with him, but he ran into problems and carried it in his farm, so he didn't flew down. And he was my boss. I didn't have a ticket, but he had an inside contact. So now I wanted to go, but for now, it's really. I have a lot of questions, and hopefully someday I can go and either meet Joel or meet John Kempf, because I do have a lot of questions. But it's interesting. It's an interesting.
It's a very interesting trend that this going back to nature and at least trying to find the balance between supplements and what you can get from nature. People are really trying to go more holistic and to get back to being in balance. And some time ago it was really seen as a little bit what's the word, quaint to go and try and do that. But it's becoming a lot more mainstream that the people are asking those questions because people want to do it and because the consumer wants it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just think what's currently happening, that's a risk for the long-term fruit farming, is we're creating the mindset of end customers that regenerative farming is having sheep or cattle in your orchard. But that's not regenerative farming. Regenerative farming is actually putting carbon back into the soil. So that could be through cover crops, spraying less herbicides. So we shouldn't create a scenario where regenerative farming is having livestock in your orchards. Yes, it's an add-on, but that's not the basis of it. It's the basis of is covering the soil, putting carbon back into the soil, creating a better soil, creating better fruit and more dense fruit stuff. I know ZZ2 is investing a lot of that type of regenerative.
They've been doing that for a very long time. Natuurboerdery they've been doing that for a long time, and they really are showing that it can be done.
Yeah.
So it's just quite remarkable.
It's just what frustrates me the most about agriculture is if you want to do something good, it costs a lot of money, and that's the wrong. That's the if you want to mulch an orchard, or if you want to put in full sprinklers to cover a cover crop, now it's a challenge getting more water from government. It's costing you more money. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been very interesting chatting to you. I mean, you've shared, we've talked about a wide range of issues. Is there anything else you wanted to ask?
Not that I can think. Is there anything you want to ask?
No, I think, please tell me when the podcast is live so that I can.
We do have, we're starting a new tradition, and it's a way of connecting.
Yeah, the grower just came here. Yeah. Now it's looking nice, yeah.
You want to stop for
No, we can continue.
Does he know what we're doing?
Yeah, you know.
Okay, all right. So we're introducing a tradition which I think could be quite fun, and it's a way of connecting one of our guests to the next one.
Okay.
And we ask the previous guest to give us a question for the next guest.
We heard it, I heard it on another podcast I also follow.
Okay.
From Stephen Bartlett, where he asked the guest a question from the previous guy. He doesn't say who it's from.
Okay.
And then that guy gets to also ask a question to the next guy.
So am I getting a question, or should I create the question?
Both. But let us ask you the question first.
Okay.
Because what was your most embarrassing moment in your work circumstances in your career?
My most embarrassing moment was probably. I have a few. It's not that embarrassing, so it's a good thing. I think I selected a variety at the early stages where I worked at Top Fruit, and I was fully convinced this is the new big thing. And we grafted a half a hectare of it in a year. 2 years after that, it had no flowers. And I was full in farms at the MD of the company. This is the fruit size here and everything. It showed it in the trial blocks. And as soon as we started commercially farming it, it didn't flower. So I let them lost a lot of money, and I felt very ashamed, and this variety we're sitting in here, I was convinced it won't work here. It had a high winter chill, and I told Gijs Du Toit, that's our chairman, so Gijs, I'm very worried. I don't think we thought we bought a winner, but we didn't buy a winner. I don't like what I'm seeing. And now a year later or 2 years later, I can't find a better variety in the country. So, there's some.
They say the best way to learn sometimes is the hard way.
Yeah. But
you're learning.
Yeah, I definitely learn. I need to keep my mouth more shut, and not talk too quickly,
But you live and learn.
Yeah. That's I think.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
No,
the question you ask, we'll write it in the book. So
we can ask the next person.
I want to ask a hard farming question for that guy or girl.
Yes,
go for it.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to finish with?
No, I think I do appreciate that what you guys are doing. This was when Devald contacted me on LinkedIn. It was quite impressive, and I was very, very excited. So please try and go ahead and talk to us. And I do have a lot of questions so that we can inspire it, or maybe have more people on the show, and to this is the new part of the new agriculture or farming that we talk to. Young growers are listening to this. They're on LinkedIn. They want to better the soil. They want to better the circumstances, and they're really good growers. So yeah, I think, and you guys are inspiring it through the videos on LinkedIn and the podcast. So yeah, please keep on doing that and let us know where we can help to make it better.
Thank you very much, and thanks for entertaining us under this beautiful vine. I think we must get a picture of us sitting here.
It's something that I said to Louise, I think we need to do this, but just when we started Lucentlands, and now the last 2 months we said, well, this has to happen now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And well, we've saddled up a horse. We don't know how wild it is yet.
Yeah. No, it's a great, I think it's a great initiative. It's gonna boom.
Thank you.
And I'll send you some fruit, and maybe we post it together on LinkedIn.
And maybe if you don't
LinkedIn,
mind, we can come back and take some photographs when your fruit is ripe.
Yeah.
Because it's looking very promising.
So around February, it's a good time to come. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very warm, but we'll make a plan.
Roelof, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very
I do
much,
appreciate
Roelof.
it. Yeah.
Much appreciated.